Ashley May and Mike Beer here with the Daily Racing Forum, taking a look at a stakes race this Saturday out at Aqueduct. Race number 8 is the Garland of Roses. 6 furlongs on the main track here for fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and upward. And we have a field of 7 here going to the gate, Mike. I think, maybe there's a couple directions to go, but I think the top 2 look to be Disco Ebo and You Look Cold here for Bill Mott.
Yeah, that's how I looked at it too. I mean, I do sort of feel like Disco Ebo got on the rail, second off the layoff now. I pegged her as the horse to beat. I guess the question breaking from the rail here actually is how fast does this pace get? Because it does feel like she needs the lead.
It does. And I feel like the other thing that is maybe, I don't want to say working against her, just that one start at Aqueduct seems to be kind of the queen of parks and really moves well over that surface. Has had some easy crushing wins, even 3 and 4 starts back. When I have to take the show on the road from not too far away, though, traveling to Aqueduct. And I think looking at You Look Cold, once we get to her later, I thought she was very impressive last time out. Yes, she got the pace setup that she needs, but in terms of this race, we'll take a look at the Time Form US pace projections. The pace should be pretty decent in here early on. We've talked about Disco Ebo having some early foot, as well as a couple of others when you start to look at the 6 here. Headland has been forwardly placed, especially 2 starts back and 4 starts back, but could rate. And then you can see projected here maybe to press the pace would be the 2 Can't Hurry Love.
Yeah, Can't Hurry Love should be forward. She, at least, to her credit, Can't Hurry Love's, she doesn't need the lead to be effective. So if this pace is fast, I'm sure they'll try to sit off of it somewhere. But the 5, Olga Isabel, so far she's been one-way speed in all of her races. Headland can go forward. Even Self-Isolation, the 3, seems like she's at her best when she's part of the pace. So I won't be surprised when this pace gets contested.
So we see a fast pace, and we see the late pace flag on who the number 4, You Look Cold, as we mentioned, is a closer through and through and may get the pace set up that she's going to need. Now, kicking off the field is the number 1, Disco Ebo. We'll jump right into that replay on Halloween at Parks. And this is a conditioned allowance event, but kind of looking at this performance, she breaks sharp and ends up having a cruising victory here for a while, it looks like. But then the other horses kind of come to her at the end. It was going 7 ace.
Yeah, maybe the 7 furlongs here off the 6+ month layoff. Maybe it just sort of got to her at the end here. It was still a pretty easy win. It's also at least worth pointing out that they just handed her the lead in there. I mean, nobody went. She walked on a super slow pace and got the job done. And that's kind of the one thing that I think maybe gives you a little concern with Disco Ebo. I mean, her overall form's really good. Her best race is probably too good for these horses, but she wants to be on the early lead, and this pace is supposed to be a lot faster. I personally, I didn't think she was that hard to poke holes into if she's some kind of short price.
No, and there's certainly the possibility that cutting back to 6 furlongs, she could at least hang around for a piece. I also think maybe if you want to give her some credit, Robert Reed Jr. shipping to Aqueduct's been selective, but has had good numbers, and maybe they have some confidence just off that last. But I completely agree. I mean, the pace wasn't that hot, and she was favored. She still got the job done, but now she's going to have to step up and take a step forward. Now, to her outside is the number 2, Can't Hurry Love, who last time out was 4th in the pumpkin pie after being forwardly placed. And prior to that, Mike had faced New York breds, now just making that second start since August.
Yeah, second off of a little bit of layoff here. She is more of a New York bred kind of horse, so we'll see how she handles, another open stakes race here. But I just like her form overall as a 4-year-old. It feels like she's really improved this year. She doesn't need the lead to be effective either. That's one of the things that I really like about her in this race. The pumpkin pie last time, it was a short field. They did go from the rail in there and wound up contesting the pace, and she just wasn't quite good enough. But it was a layoff. It was 7 furlongs, and the 1-2 finishers of that race, they're way better than anything she's facing in this field.
I agree. And you know what? I know Trevor last time out was probably told to send, and it was a short field, but I like that he sticks with her because they've teamed up several times this season. He seems to get along with her well. And I agree. I just think as a 4-year-old, she's turned the corner. She hasn't regressed. She certainly has taken a step forward. The number 3, Self-Isolation, ran a pretty big second last time out at Laurel, but prior to that, some okay performance. I don't know your thoughts, Mike. Do you think she's maybe a cut below the rest in here?
I kind of feel like she is. I guess we'll see what happens. You never know with Jacobson. I mean, his horses, it just feels like they can do anything on the racetrack, and you're not surprised by it, whether that be good or bad. She has a race or two that will give her a real chance in there. She's another horse who it feels like she's at her best when they let her use her speed and go forward. And I think that's maybe the most interesting thing about her most recent start, actually, when they sent her to Laurel. They actually tried to rate her that time. I mean, they consciously rated her from the outside post. And of course, she gets wired by a horse who went to the lead ahead of her, but she still ran fine.
I think she ran fine. I think it was nice to see her make up some ground in the end where, it's great that you point out it was a change of tactics because typically even if she's rated, she has not been comfortable doing so and is still backed up. So I agree, though. Seems a little bit maybe of an outsider in here. The number 4, You Look Cold, is next in the field. This one trained by Bill Mott. Let's jump into the replay from that race at the Belmont at Aqueduct meet back in late October. Curious to get your thoughts. Yes, there was pace help, but she had plenty of work here to do in the stretch.
Yeah, she's got a lot of ground to make up. The pace did go in front of her, but it's not like it's a total collapse in this race. And she really runs at the end. And you can see her get bothered right here past the 8th pole with the horse sort of coming out, maybe breaking her momentum a little bit, but she still comes running in here and she gets the job done. I thought this was a good performance, and I just like it as a bounce back performance too, because those 2 races at Saratoga weren't good. And I think she confirmed last time she does not like a wet track. She wants fast dirt. And if this is a fast track on Saturday, I think she's going to be tough in here.
And even earlier in 2023 down at Gulfstream Park, I thought her efforts were decent. She had to face horses such as Spirit Wind, who had some nice performances down in South Florida for Ralph Nix and a couple of others. So it does seem like she's also on the up and up and improving with her last start. The 5, Olga Isabel, this one trained by Brad Cox. Licks ticks down the win streak. I mean, she's really done nothing wrong. 3 races in a row now. She's 4 for 7 in her career. I guess a little bit of my concern is, what did she really face last time out at Keeneland?
Yeah, exactly. Only a 4-horse field in that allowance race. She's a super short price, and it's another race when you go back and pull the replay. They just conceded the lead to her in there. They didn't make her race at all, and then just couldn't really get to her through the stretch. I'm not sure that race, makes me think that she's any good at all. And I know she's on a win streak, and all of her races look good on paper, and she fits on figures and all that stuff. But she's one of those horses who's had nothing but soft trips in her races, and I'm just not sure that she's any good at all.
The 6, Headland, this one trained by George Weaver, was second 2 starts back, but then was disqualified. I thought about showing the replay. This horse was just kind of all over the place and ends up getting placed 3rd. And then they tried the turf last time out. Curious one, though. They claimed this one for $62.50. This one at $62,500, and has kind of bounced around from barn to barn. I don't know what to make out of her form. I think she could be potentially sneaky here, or just, not really fire a race at all.
I agree with you. I think you gotta kind of wait and see what kind of price she is. Certainly she's got races on the go back that would give her a real chance against this field. She doesn't always run it, but when she does run it, she could be competitive with these horses. I don't know what to make of them trying turf with her last time. In her 42nd career start, all of a sudden they decide to try her on the grass. It didn't work out. She's better on dirt. She's another horse who likes to be forward. But listen, she's got races that would give her a chance in here.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at some of her buyers that she's thrown, they're some of the best in the field. But I think one of the things is maybe consistency in terms of, as of late, she's a little all over the place, but still a 2-time winner in 2023. And then we'll round out the field here with the number 7, Hot Fudge for Linda Rice. Kendrick Carmouche has the mount. 2 wins in a row now. We'll take a look at the most recent win. I mean, this is a horse that obviously loves Aqueduct, and this race is not too long ago, Mike. This is on December 1st, going to cruise to a nice victory.
Yeah, Linda Rice going to wheel her right back here and move her up into a stakes race. I'll take that as a good sign. This filly does have some real talent, I think. She sort of fits the mold of this race, though. We keep bringing it up over and over again. Just loose on the lead in each of her last 2 starts. Nobody challenged her, and she sort of took advantage to win. I think she's talented. I think that she has a chance to be at least this good to win a race like this. But what kind of trip does she pull in this race?
I think that's the big question. She has the outside draw. It's not necessarily a huge field, but it's not the same as having, say, 4 or 5 runners in the field. But I will say, I don't see her on the lead here because she's gotten it last 2 times quite easy, but she's shown the ability to rate, or at least, again, on the page, she's raced okay from just off of it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, she is one of the horses who at least we know that if she doesn't make the lead, that she's going to be fine with it. I mean, she broke her maiden from well off the pace, and she ran really well that day.
All right, time for a top pick time here in the Garland of Roses at Aqueduct. As a reminder, race number 8 on Saturday. And we both go with the number 4, You Look Cold. Mike, is your thought process that the pace is going to be hot enough she can be able to mow them down the stretch?
Yeah, I think she's good enough to beat these horses anyway. But I just trusted her maybe more than some of the others. I mean, some of the horses that we've already talked about, I think they're certainly talented, but they've all had these super soft trips on the lead. It feels like something's got to give in that regard in this race. If more than one horse goes, I think this pace could be at least fast enough for You Look Cold. And I think she's good enough to beat this field anyway.
And then we both use Disco Ebo underneath. I think it's the story of she has been very strong this year, but as we've talked about, maybe there's a couple of holes you can poke in the case for her.
Yeah, she's just had so many soft trips in her races. So I'm not sure that she's a standout in this kind of a race. And I think she's going to be a short price.
4172 for Mike, 4167. It's the Garland of Roses. It kicks off the late double this Saturday at Aqueduct. Good luck.